Welcome, everyone. A couple years ago, a small local company reached out to me about filming a documentary interview about some of my mountain climbing adventures. And they wanted to use it as a promotion for their company. And I was excited, but not for the reasons that they might have expected. You see, at the time, although I was interested in videography, I knew almost nothing about it. I didn't know how to light a room, how to get something to look and sound good on camera. And what I was looking forward to more than anything else wasn't so much telling my story, but rather seeing how a professional filmmaker created one instead. I wanted to see how he lit the room, how he placed the cameras, and how he made it all look cinematic. And the videographer even came out to my house and he took a look at the space where we were going to be filming, and we talked for a bit. And I was looking forward to the day that they would come back to start the filming. But, as so often the case, especially when things are being done for free, it never happened and the interview fell through. And I was disappointed because that was my one chance to see and learn from someone who actually knew what they were doing. But that disappointment, it soon turned to motivation. As I said to myself, if no one's going to teach me how to film a cinematic interview, I'll teach myself. That's exactly what I did. For the next 2 years, I watched tutorial after tutorial. I practiced with lighting. I spent countless hours just trying to look and understand what made something look and feel cinematic, as opposed to something that you just shot straight out of the camera. So when this Toastmasters project came around, it finally gave me the opportunity to put all that practice into one experienced project. So what you're about to see isn't so much my level 4 Toastmasters project, but rather the culmination of that journey that began with a project that never happened. So without further ado, I present to you a Toastmasters experience. Those paintings are a set for a piece of war. The samurai on the left is Yamamoto Musashi. He represents war. The girl on the right is Hatuso. She represents peace. Musashi was Japan's greatest swordsman. He killed over 60 men in duels. That's not why I respected him. Musashi was more than just a swordsman. He was a writer, a philosopher, a craftsman, someone who embraced all things that life had to offer. Not just conflict, but also creation. As he got older, he moved away from fighting and toward reflection. He ended up living in a cave above a monastery, writing about philosophy and the pursuit of mastery. If Musashi were alive today, he would be a Toastmaster. Not to get up on stage and try to impress people, but for the pursuit of self-mastery that comes from learning something from within. Which is, I guess, why I'm here. Most people go to Toastmasters to overcome a fear of public speaking. That's not why I went to Toastmasters. I went to Toastmasters to be great. At least that's what I said in my first meeting. And they all call you up and they go around the room and they ask you who you are and why you came there. I was pumped up with nervous energy and I said a few words about myself. I said something like, I'm here to be a Toastmaster. I'm here to be great. They all stared at me with this big blank stare. And they gave me this big round of applause. It's proven difficult. Like a lot of things in life, it seemed like it would be easier than it actually is. Not that I ever thought that it would be easy. I always thought that I would be good at it since I used to be a bartender. I was comfortable standing in front of a crowd and I could hold a conversation. I learned very quickly that clarity is different than charisma. And that's something that only comes from repetition, from getting up there again and again, doing the same things over and over again. Every time you get up there, it's a new experience, a chance to learn, and a chance to grow. And sometimes a chance to screw something up, which is sometimes the best way to learn something. But that's the process. That's how you learn. You don't learn this by reading about it in a book. You don't learn it by thinking about it. You learn it by doing it. The good news is that you make progress very quickly, especially in the beginning before things start to level off. Kind of like when you first start going to the gym, you get what they call your UV gains. The first 6 months to a year of working out, you make very good progress. Then things kind of start to slow down. The gains, they come much more slowly, which is the point where I'm at right now, the point where the real work begins. And what I mean by that is I'm at the point where I need to start working much harder at it. or showing up anymore just isn't enough. I need to start putting more intention into it, more refined practice, rehearsing, recording, and even studying. Not just getting up there and hoping that it all works. I think I'm also getting to the point where I need to make a decision. I just want to finish my path and have fun with it, and become a confident, yet average speaker. I want to put the extra time and effort into it that's required to become a great speaker. Because those are two very different journeys. And honestly, I think this would have changed my life if I learned about it earlier. If I had found Toastmasters sooner in my career, I would have no doubt been much more successful than I had. Not because I didn't have good ideas. I know that I did. I think that my managers saw that in me too, which is probably why I still managed to do okay. But I held back. I wasn't fully comfortable expressing myself in front of groups. There were times I should have spoken up and didn't. Times I should have communicated ideas more clearly and couldn't. And looking back now, I realize how much opportunity can be lost simply because you're unable to fully express what's inside your own head. I think that part of that realization came from understanding something else. That for most of my life, I focused on physical strength, bodybuilding, martial arts, mountain climbing. But physical strength declines, whereas the power of your voice does not. We've all seen examples of someone older, maybe even near the end of their life, who still had so much power and so much presence in how they speak. That's something you can continue to build on for the rest of your life. And I think that's something Musashi might have started to realize when he left the battlefield and went into that cave. What really surprised me wasn't confidence, it was creativity. Giving a speech isn't just talking, it's movement, it's timing, and it's rhythm. It's almost like a performance, like a sport, like figure skating. There's something about trying to bring all that out together at once. Your words and your body, your pacing, and I uncovered a side of me I never knew existed. I've acted things out on stage, I moved around, I used all sorts of body language I never knew I had. And what I realized is, you just can't write a speech and memorize it. You have to live it. You have to feel it. You rehearse it, and then it changes. You perform it, and then it evolves. And that's where it becomes creative. And that's where I started to understand what this place is really about. I think that's something newer members should understand too. Because when most people first walk through those doors, they think this place is just about public speaking. But you didn't come here just to get over a fear of public speaking. You came here because you have something that you want to say. And the world does want to hear what you have to say. But you have to learn to say it. And this is where you learn to do that. I recommend sticking out for at least level 1. Because the icebreaker is really just the beginning. It's those next few speeches where you start discovering new and different ways to express yourself. I think that's what Toastmasters is really about. It's not just about learning how to speak, but learning how to bring about what's inside you. It's about learning how to master yourself. Thanks. So that was my level 4 podcast interview. Like a lot of my previous Toastmasters projects, it didn't go nearly as I anticipated. It changed form and evolved as I went through it. What I found interesting is speaking to a camera is just as difficult, if not more difficult, than it is to speak into a live audience. You may not be as nervous as it is to stand in front of a crowd, but it's a lot harder to connect. It's a lot harder to read the crowd, adjust your pacing, especially your energy. Speaking into a dead, lifeless camera lens, it was very difficult to try to make my content and my words sound natural as opposed to scripted and memorized. What also was very difficult was body language. I needed to sit and move and look engaging enough for the camera, but I couldn't move too much because I had to stay within focus of my 2 cameras. And as you can see, the second camera kept dropping focus throughout the interview. And that's probably what was hardest of it all about this project, was having to play all those different roles, to have to be the cameraman, the lightographer, the video editor, and the podcast host all at once. Did it come out the way that I originally anticipated? No. Was I happy with it? No. If I was to do it again, there'd be a dozen different things that I would do. But that's not the point. The main point is that I learned something, and I can do something now that I wasn't able to do before. I think that's what Toastmasters is really about. It's not about perfection, but about progress. Thank you.